good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on when you're watching this video. Today, I will be talking about the biggest issue plaguing the world today. And what is that? Is it global warming? Nope. If it's not global warming, is it climate change? Nope. It has to be gentrification. Nope. It's not gentrification, and it's not global warming, and it's not climate change, and it must be the police brutality on black people. Must be a lack of access to wealth. Nope. Okay, so I know what you're thinking. Those are really big issues I just talked about. So if it's not any of those, then what is it? Probably how everybody is sleeping right now and they need to wake up because they're not aware and they're not awake of everything that's going on in the world, right? Nope, but you're close. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you what it is. Separation. Separation is the biggest issue plaguing the world today. What does that mean when I say separation is the biggest issue plaguing the world today? All those issues that I've mentioned are very big and important issues that are also plaguing the world and also have some effect on each and every human being that lives on this planet, right? You know, global warming, climate change, access to wealth, you know, whether it's police brutality or mass incarceration, all of these things, right? Gentrification, all these things that I mentioned, these are very big issues, right? You know, whether it's taxes or, you know, cost of living, redlining, all these type of things. These are all really, really important issues, but there's no important issue more than separation. Separation is the biggest issue that is plaguing the world today, and let me dive deep into it so everybody can understand where I'm coming from and my standpoint on the word separation. So when I say separation, I'm talking about pitting this versus that. Because as a whole, we're all connected, right? We're all connected in some way, form, or fashion between energy, souls, and frequencies. So if you take a look at that and we're all connected, but somehow we become so disconnected with each other, whether it was migration to other countries after the human experience, the human, H-U-E, man experience. After that, we all migrated to different parts of the world. Or whether it was religions that created separation, you know, forging different religions, or whether it was cultures that created separation between all humankind. Whether it was sex, male or female, whether it was, you know, I like this and I like that, and I like this and I dislike that. Whether it was that type of separation. This is one of the biggest issues that have plagued the world. Black versus white, racism, all stems from separation. Separation, believing that one is right and one is wrong. One is light, one is dark. One is this and one is the opposite. But I fear to you that this way of thinking has been the disaster on our human world. There was a powerful black man by the name of Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Let me put some respect on that name by putting the doctor there. But there was a man that was very powerful named Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and he spoke about love and unity. And nowadays, when you speak about love and unity, it's something that people scoff at. It's something that people laugh at and point their finger at and say, ha ha ha, and it sounds very cliche. But it was one of the things that led into the revolution of our humankind, trying to connect white people and black people, because no man and no woman, race or not, is not greater or lesser than the other. Now, there was white people feeling superior than black people by taking them over from their continent, taking them over. And I say continent because that's how huge it is. Just like America, Africa is a continent, it's not a country. So taking black people from their continent, bringing them over to the Americas, enslaving them, making them believe and think what white people thought, making them live under their fashions, making them believe and feel how white people felt, adopting all of their mannerisms, adopting all of their beliefs, adopting everything about European culture, and taking everything from African culture and making them so disconnected from their own country that even black people are disconnected from black people. Even that African people look down their nose upon African American people, and African American people are so disconnected from Africa that they have no desire to even go back there, or even no desire to even identify as African anymore. Let me take it back to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., because while there was a powerful black man talking about unity, there was also a black man that was powerful and great talking about separation, in Malcolm X. See, Malcolm X, I would not say he did not care or love for his black people, for his black brothers, his black sisters. He addressed them all with respect, and he wanted them all to have power. He wanted them all to be equal footing to the white person, to the white man, to the white woman, to the white oppressor. This is what Malcolm X wanted. But while his message was pure for black people, his message was also divisive towards black people. Because what it did was it took Martin Luther King, a great leader for black people and a great leader for humans, and it took Malcolm X, a great leader for black people in general, and for that purpose, it's separating them and say, you have separated us, you have took from us, we want what you have equally, but we want it separately from you. This was his message. This was Malcolm X's message, was that we want it separate. We want everything that you have, but separate. And if you look at cartoons or comic books, Dr. Charles Xavier, we are all one. We are all united. Human, mutant, we're no different. We can all live and coexist amongst each other. While Magneto would say, no, mutants are superior than humans. We deserve everything they have. We deserve more than what they have, and we deserve it separately. It's the same concept. Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. So in every aspect of life, there was always separation. Whether you take it back to racism. What is racism? Racism isn't real. Race isn't real, but racism is real. Let me correct that. Race isn't real, but racism is real. Racism is the notion that you believe that you are better than another skin tone based off of what? Based off of what? Because they look different than you? Now, some might say that you could take it to the Bible and say light versus darkness and say that a person's skin tone being lighter, meaning more correct or right, and then another person's skin tone being darker or wrong, or what they would say in the Bible. This is what led to the separation of racism and what led to white people disliking black people because looking at their skin as black, dark, and that's why I say that we shouldn't identify as black because of the association of what white people gave to it. It was all the basis of racism in itself because there was no other basis for racism other than light versus darkness, skin tone wise. Because in the Bible, in Christianity, it says there's a light and there's a darkness. Darkness is black. Darkness is wrong. This is what they say about darkness. And brown people's skin, African people's skin, are usually darker than white people's skin, Caucasian people's skin. So in that aspect, this is where the separation of racism came to feeling like you are superior than another being. You're superior than another being because of the skin tone, which created a separation, which created a hatred, an undeserved, racism, an undeserved disconnection between white and black people, feeling like somebody is superior and somebody has to be inferior, and that doesn't have to be the case. Even looking down upon people that a separation because of countries, because of continents. Look at how America looks down their nose upon other countries and continents, even if they've never been to that country or continent. They've never been to Asia. They've never been to Vietnam. They've never been to Iraq. They've never been to Mexico. But yet we're talking about, oh, these people are lesser than us. They don't deserve to be here. They don't deserve to be where we are. They don't deserve to have the same opportunities that we have. Even though in their countries and their continents, they don't have freedom of speech. They don't have all the blessings and laws that we have. They don't have the commandments. They don't have all these type of rules and diplomacies, and they don't have all these things that give them the freedom and give them, hell, in Saudi Arabia, women have just gotten the right to drive in the past couple of years. And you see people crossing the border illegally. You'll see people crossing the border and you'll see people from America saying, you don't belong here. You don't have papers. You don't deserve to be here because you crossed illegally. This is because white people have this notion and they don't understand. And I'll say that black people do understand because black people suffered from the same thing. People were escaping from slavery using the Underground Railroad. The Underground Railroad is something mythologized nowadays, but what it was a refugee getaway. That's all it was. It was a getaway to escape from slavery. And what people from Mexico are doing are escaping. The refugees. They're escaping from Mexico to get a better life. That's all they're doing. It's the same thing that African people did escaping from slavery. So that is why black people can relate to Mexican people more than white people can. White people have never escaped anything. They've never been a refugee. They never have to run from anything because they were always into power. So they always look down their nose upon people that suffered from something and trying to escape into this country. Mind you, people from America, white people, Caucasian people, are not from this country. They're not from this continent. They're not from America. They're from Europe. They're from Greece. They're from all these places in Europe, right? But they took over this place from the natives, the Native Americans, and they claimed it as their own, kicking out Native Americans, making Native Americans pay to stay here, taking over their land, not letting them celebrate their culture, and claiming America as their own. And the people that are born into this culture, born into America, they don't know the history of it. So a lot of people in that time believed that they have the right to kick people out of this country, even though they're not from this country. They're not from this continent. You see, there's a whole disillusion there. There's a separation there. There's a disillusion there that stems from separation. So I've talked about it in comic form. I've talked about it in cartoon form, whether you watch the cartoon X-Men or read the comics. I've talked about it in racism form. Well, what about money? What about wealth versus poor? There's a separation there. There's a separation with money, that people with money look down their nose upon people without money. And people without money look down their nose or even look up their nose at people with money. They say, oh, you don't need money to be happy. You don't need money to do this. Or fuck those people with money because they're not giving us money. There's another separation. And people with money look down their nose upon people without money and say, oh, they're disgusting. Oh, look at them. Look at them begging for money. Look at them living in these houses. Now, mind you, this is all brought from redlining, but that's a whole different discussion. We're talking about separation. Separation is the gist from whether you look upon race, whether you look upon cartoons, whether you look upon comic books, whether you look upon money. Separation, religion. I've talked about religion as well. How religion has separated us. It's different religions. There's Christianity. There's Judaism. There's Muslim, the Nation of Islam. There are different forms of Muslim. There's Muslim from Arabic Muslim. There's a Nation of Islam Muslim, which is mostly black people. So even there's a divide. There's a separation. People that are Muslim that are not from the Nation of Islam, they think and believe different beliefs that people from Nation of Islam believe. And then you look at all the other different religions. They all believe Buddhism, all this Hinduism, all these type of things. It's all separation. But at the end of the day, if you look into Hinduism, they believe that there is one God overall. But then other religions, they believe that their God is the God. And then there creates a separation in that. You're wrong. You're right. I'm wrong. I'm right. This is wrong. This is right. Separation. Creating divide amongst people for no reason over something that we don't even know for sure. Over something that we don't even know for sure, but there is a separation because of the belief of it all, the belief system. Everybody has their belief system. You know what? The cultures, Buddhism, Hinduism, Christianity, Muslim, all this type of thing. It all depends on the culture you were raised in. Doesn't mean you're right or wrong. It just depends on what you were raised around, what you were raised to believe. That creates the separation. My idea with religion is to not teach divide, is to not teach separation, but to teach one unified form of the whole same word. Because if you look at different religions, in the core, if you strip it down, it all talks about the same type of thing, but in different ways that accentuate their own culture. Accentuate their own beliefs into that own word that was given. So if there was a word that was written about God, about the universe, about something, why not believe that it's all one thing instead of creating and separating something that is so true, but we all take from it and create our own different belief systems into it? Divide, separation. There are also cultures that believe in dividing and separating as far as marriage, as far as relationships. For example, Chinese people, Asian people, I should say, they prefer for their woman, their man, to marry a Chinese Asian person, right? Whether Korean, whether Chinese, Japanese, they prefer for them to date somebody within their culture. Separation. Although it's something culture-based, culture in itself is a separation. So when you look at people wanting to marry within their race, that in itself is a separation, but culture in itself is a separation. But that's something we can't help because like I said in the beginning, at one point, we were all in one spot. We were all one people and we migrated. And in that migration, we created different cultures. The cultures we didn't stumble upon the cultures. We didn't move and then cultures was just there and we just adopted it. We created these cultures and it created the divide. It created the separation. You're not from my culture. I cannot relate to you. You're lesser than me because my culture is right. You're lesser than me. Or you're greater than me because this culture is this, and I need to try to aspire to be that culture. I need to try to be like that culture, right? So even if you look at it from any aspect, separation has been the greatest divide and plague on this human world that I see today. And when I look out the window, when I look at people, when I look at everything, everything is divided. Everything is separation. Everything is based upon separation. Even if you look at the Chinese form of yin and yang, opposite and opposite. Although this is a very loose term of separation, it is still the basis of what society and what humankind think about the world. Everything has to be separated. Everything has to be right and there has to be a wrong. Even if you take it to the simplest form of right of wrong, there always has to be a separation. This is right, this is wrong, right? And what is right and wrong based off of? What is it based off of? Who decided that this is right? Who decided that this is wrong? Who said we all agreed that, hey, as humans, this is right, this is wrong, creating a divide because some people believe that the wrong is the right and the right is the wrong, creating another separation, a divide. There's always division amongst the angst. There's always division. But for what? What is the division for? In any aspect of life. You can take it to any aspect of life and apply division. You can apply separation in any aspect of life that you live upon. And you can look and you can find the separation there. And you can see the divide that it creates upon humans and the hatred and the oppositeness and the disconnect it creates towards other humans because of that divide and separation that we create in our minds. So because of that separation, what has it accomplished? Well, I'll tell you what it's accomplished. It's accomplished the greatest plague that I've said is plaguing and dissolving the world today, greater than any issue, greater than racism, greater than global warming, climate change, greater than police brutality, mass incarceration, lack of access to wealth, whether it's the schools, whether it's greater than all of this. These are all great issues. I'm not trying to discredit any of those issues, and I probably will talk about them on the later videos. But these issues pale in comparison to the ancient rule of separation that have plagued the world to this day, and I don't know when it will ever go away. Because for it to go away, it would have to be realizing that we are all connected, we are all one and the same, we are all alike, and none of us are divided within the slightest. But that would take a lot of ego swallowing, pride swallowing. That would take a lot of understanding. That would take a whole lot of compassion for another man, another female. That would take a whole lot of empathy, sympathy. That would take a lot of that to understand that we are all connected in one unison. Now, people that are watching this that are, familiar with energy and spiritual based things. And when I say spiritual, I don't mean religious. So when I say spiritual energy based things, these people, they understand that we are all connected. We are all one. We are all one being. We are all connected through energy, souls, right? They understand that. But for the people that don't, that scoff their nose at it, they don't understand this concept yet. I beg of you, I ask you, what good has separation done for humans? What good has separation done for you in particularly? Do you feel happy being divided from everybody? Everybody that doesn't think like you, that doesn't look like you, that doesn't come from your culture? Do you feel more happy? Or do you feel like the world would be a better place if everybody was leading with love, if everybody had love in their heart for everybody else, and had compassion and understanding for where somebody is at in their life? Not looking down upon somebody because they're homeless. Not looking down upon somebody because they're broke right now. Not looking down or looking up to somebody because they're rich. Wouldn't you feel better in society if everybody understood that we are all love, we are all one? Like I said, what's greater than being your race? It's being from the culture. If you're black, for example, what's greater than being black? What's deeper than it? African. What's deeper than being white or Caucasian, being European? What's deeper than being African or European, being human? What's deeper than being human? Being God. And what's deeper than being God? Being love. And in its essence, even though people manipulated the Bible and manipulated different Bibles and words over the years, in its essence, God is written in the Bible as love, as acceptance, as neutrality. So who is it for us to create that separation? Who is it for us to have so much greed in our heart? Who is it for us to have so much ego, so much hubris in ourselves that we believe that even though we are, in its essence, a God or love, that we can stray and strip from that and create our own manipulations to satisfy our own beliefs and to satisfy our own... It's just, it really sickens me at times, but when you look at America in itself, or in the world in itself today, but mostly America, because it's more of a European thing. European nature is individualism. If you look at other countries and continents, it's all unified. While there is some separation, while everybody doesn't think alike, there is unity within them. There is unity within African people. There is unity within people from Saudi Arabia, from people from Iran, from people anywhere, Mexico. They have a unity. They unite amongst each other. People, the only two races that don't unite are white and black people. Whatever it is, whatever concept you want to lay claim to, black people do not unite. And you could take a certain instance and say George Floyd, you could say Trayvon Martin. Okay, twice. When is it going to happen on a regular basis? What about Caucasian people, white people? Even they're divided. They look down upon white people that have less money than them, they don't have a job, that don't have opportunities like they have. They feel like, if I did it, that means you can do it. That's an individual mindset, not realizing that everybody wasn't born or given the same opportunities you were environment-wise. But there's also a thing of looking at it as we were all born with the same opportunities, because just because you were born in a certain area, just because you were born with a certain set of skills or born with a certain aspect of life surrounding you or given to you, that doesn't mean you have to sit there, complain, whine, and be stuck in that situation. You can get up. You can create, because there's so many opportunities for you to get out of that situation. You don't have to be stuck there. So everybody, in a sense, does. Now, what people run into issues with is that the separation of racism. When a black person, a Mexican person, an Asian person tries to get that same opportunity that a Caucasian person already has due to history, they're not given that same opportunity that that white person has because of the racism that the white person has towards other people. And if that racism, if that separation were to go away, everybody would have the equal opportunities that everybody has. Separation. Separation. I preach. I pray. Separation ends. Not for me. Not for you. The hell with me. The hell with you. I pray that separation ends for the next generation, for the youth, because they don't deserve to be born into this world and have to deal with the same things that we dealt with. They deserve to have a better life than what we had. They deserve to see that people are love, light, and energy-based. They deserve to see that everything is love. They don't deserve to hate anybody. How much easier would it have been if there wasn't separation when you were growing up in schools, within your parents, within love, within your teachers, within, race, within economic-based things, whether it's rich and poor, whether it's poverty and well-off. How much better would your life be if there was not that separation? If everybody had the compassion and sympathy and everybody helped and loved each other? That separation, if that separation wasn't there, how much better would your life have been? You shouldn't even have to think about that. So if that being said, What makes you think that your child's child wants to grow up in the same world that you did? You should want the world to be better. Separation. The biggest, and I mean the biggest plague on the planet.